Hi everybody, happy Friday. For today's science lesson, we are going to learn all about frogs and the life cycle of a frog. So first, we're going to go ahead and read a really cool National Geographic book about frogs all across the world with lots of different pictures of different kinds of frogs. And then after that, we'll look at the life cycle of a frog together and we'll practice naming the stages and spelling the words. So let's go ahead and get started. For our science lesson today, we are going to learn all about frogs and the life cycle of frogs. So first, we're going to read a book from National Geographic Kids to learn about all different types of frogs, and then we'll look at a diagram of the frog life cycle, and we'll practice writing and spelling some of the words in the frog life cycle. So let's go ahead and get started with our book. The title is Frogs, written by Marfe Ferguson Delano. And I'll go nice and slow so you can see all of the different pictures of frogs. Look, a frog. Up in a tree, a tiny tree frog balances on a branch. Tree frogs tiptoe on twigs and leap onto leaves. Sticky toe tips help tree frogs climb and cling. So here is our tree frog on a little branch. It has really sticky feet and toes to help it cling to the branches. It can stay on this branch even though it's wet and raining. Down by a stream, a big bullfrog snuggles into the squishy, mushy mud. Squelch. In a sandy desert, a spadefoot toad digs with shovel-like back feet, burrowing underground. Burrowing means that it's digging itself underground. Sploosh! Out in a pond, a leggy leopard frog launches off a lily pad. It arches through the air and splashes into the water. So here it is flying from the lily pad into the air. Home sweet home. Frogs live almost everywhere on Earth, except Antarctica, which is where it's really cold and icy and snowy. You can find them on mountaintops, in forests, creeks and rivers, ponds and lakes, fields, parks, gardens, and deserts. So the Pac-Man frog up here lives in South America. The spadefoot toad lives in North America. The Australian green tree frog lives in Australia. And the Fleshman's glass frog lives in Central America. There are more than 5,000 kinds of frogs. Here are some from around the world. The Wallace flying frog lives in Southeast Asia. The Vietnamese Mossy frog lives in Southeast Asia. Can you see it? This one's kind of hard to see. It's camouflaged. And the flaming poison dart frog lives in Central and South America. Frogs come in many different colors and sizes. They can be tiny or they can be huge. What colors is this frog right here? What colors do you see on them? Yeah, we have blue, we have red, got black eyes, and it's even a little purplish where the blue and the red mix together. Frogs can be bumpy or frogs can be smooth. Some frogs are even see-through. Here's a bumpy frog, and this frog is see-through. Most mother frogs lay eggs in or near water. Here are all of the eggs being laid. Pop! When the eggs hatch, out pop tiny tadpoles. They live underwater and eat tiny plants. They look like fish, but they are wiggly, wriggly baby frogs, also known as pollywogs. Here is a tadpole in the water. It looks like a fish, but it's not. It's a frog. Tadpoles start out with chubby, stubby bodies and long, flat tails. But as a tadpole grows, its body changes. It sprouts legs, right here, for swimming and hopping. Does it still look like a fish? Not so much anymore now that it has legs. Its tail gets smaller and smaller. Its eyes get bulgier and bulgier. Its mouth gets wider and wider. Finally, the tadpole looks like a frog. Out of the water it crawls. Now the young frog is ready to explore its new world and to eat. Looks like it's eating a cricket in this picture. Gulp! This frog loves to eat bugs. It shoots out its sticky tongue to snap up a passing insect, pulls the prey into its mouth, and swallows it whole. Froggy feasts. Frogs are not fussy eaters. They will eat just about anything that moves as long as it can fit into their mouths. How far can your tongue stick out? Look at how far this frog's tongue can reach, way further than human tongues. Here's a frog eating a worm, and it says, "Do you think a worm tastes yummy or yucky?" And over here, it says, "Bugs and caterpillars are fine food for frogs." Frogs chow down on insects, spiders, worms, slugs, and snails. Some frogs also dine on mice and even other frogs. This frog just nabbed a delicious dragonfly. How would you like lizards for lunch and spiders for supper? This mouse better watch out for big, hungry frogs. Frogs eat all kinds of animals, and all kinds of animals eat frogs. It looks like this bird is about to try and eat the frog down here. Birds and bats, snakes and rats, raccoons, fish, lizards, crocodiles, and even bears all gobble up frogs. How do frogs survive? Some hide by blending into the background. Some have brilliant colors that warn hungry hunters, "Don't eat me." These brightly hued frogs have poison in their skin. It looks like this frog is trying to hide and blend into the leaf. And this poison frog is trying to stand out and tell other animals that it's poisonous. Jump frog. A frog on the ground can leap to safety. And in a treetop, a gliding frog spreads its toes wide, jumps off a branch, and glides. Happy landing. Here it is gliding in the treetops. All in the family. A frog has moist skin. What does your skin feel like? No tail. Long, strong legs for jumping and leaping. Can you leap like a frog? 5 toes on their hind legs. 4 toes on front legs. Teeth in their upper jaw. And bulging eyes. Can you make your eyes look really big? Don't let toads fool you. Despite their name, toads are a kind of frog. But that doesn't mean frogs and toads are exactly alike. Frogs live most of their lives around water. Toads can be found in drier places, even in deserts. Here are some ways that frogs and toads are different and the same. So we already read about the frog over here. Now we'll read about the toad. They have a poison gland behind each eye. No teeth. 4 toes on their front legs. How many fingers and toes do you have? 5 toes on their hind legs. Short legs, just right for walking or short hops. Can you make short hops like a toad? No tail. Dry, bumpy skin. What other things feel bumpy? Sing like a frog. Even when you can't see frogs, you can often hear them singing. Some frogs puff up their throats like balloons to make sound. Each type of frog has its own special call. Some are so loud they can be heard a mile away. Here are some frog calls. Can you make these froggy sounds? It says a bullfrog goes juggerum, juggerum, juggerum. A spring peeper frog goes peep, peep, peep. A red-eyed tree frog goes chock, chock, chock. A cockeye frog goes cookie, cookie. A gray tree frog goes trill, trill, trill. And a wood frog sounds like a duck. It goes quack, quack, quack. The end. I'm glad you enjoyed learning all about frogs. Now we're going to look at the frog life cycle, and we're going to practice spelling some of the words for different parts of the frog life cycle. Now that we've read all about frogs, we're going to look at the life cycle of a frog. Life cycle of a frog. So that just means all the different stages of life that a frog has. So we're going to write the name of each life cycle and we're going to spell it together. Step 1. Does anyone know what these are called? This is how a frog starts out. An adult frog lays a bunch of these in the water. They're called eggs. Eggs. E-G-G-S. Eggs. Eggs. And that's step 1. Then the eggs start to grow. They hatch from their eggs and they grow into this right here. That's stage number 2. Does anyone know what that's called? It starts with a T. Tadpole. T-A-D-P-O-L-E. Tadpole. Can everybody say that? Tadpole. And a tadpole is a lot like a fish. Right now, when they're a tadpole, they'll actually be living only in the water. They'll be swimming around, kind of moving like a fish, and they have gills so they can breathe underwater. Stage 3. Does anybody notice anything different about this picture? What do we see going on down here? Yeah, it's a tadpole, but it is a tadpole, T-A-D-P-O-L-E, with, W-I-T-H, 2 legs, L-E-G-S. A tadpole with 2 legs. And what about down here? Anything different? We have our 2 legs from before, and there's 2 more legs in the back now. So it's still a tadpole. T-A-D-P-O-L-E. With, W-I-T-H, how many legs now? It has 2 on this side and it has 2 on the other side that we can't see. With 4 legs, L-E-G-S. A tadpole with 4 legs. Okay, what about over here? On to number 5. We had our eggs, our tadpole, tadpole with 2 legs, tadpole with 4 legs. What about this guy? It's called a froglet. A froglet. F-R-O-G-L-E-T. Froglet. F-R-O-G-L-E-T. And now that it's a froglet, it's starting to act more like a frog and less like a fish. It's growing lungs and getting rid of its gills. So now it has to breathe air like you and me. How we breathe air, the frog is starting to do that too. It still lives in the water, but it's starting to go up to the surface for air. And last but not least, we have stage 6, the final stage. What is this stage called? Yes, they are a frog. F-R-O-G. They are a full-grown frog, so they don't live under the water anymore. Now they can go in and out of the water. Great. Let's review our different stages. Stage 1, we have eggs. E-G-G-S. Eggs. Stage 2 is a tadpole. Tadpole. T-A-D-P-O-L-E. Stage 3 is a tadpole with 2 legs. T-A-D-P-O-L-E space W-I-T-H space 2 space L-E-G-S. Tadpole with 2 legs. Stage 4 is just a little bit different. It's a tadpole with 4 legs. T-A-D-P-O-L-E space W-I-T-H space 4 space L-E-G-S. Tadpole with 4 legs. Over here we have our froglet. F-R-O-G-L-E-T. Froglet. And last but not least, we have our frog. Frog. F-R-O-G. Frog. Awesome job, everybody. Those are the stages of the life cycle of a frog. From eggs to tadpole, tadpole with 2 legs, tadpole with 4 legs, froglet, and frog. Awesome job. I hope that everybody enjoyed today's lesson and really liked learning all of that cool information about frogs and their life cycle. After today's lesson, I have some additional videos about frogs posted just below the lesson, so I'd recommend that you go ahead and check those out. There's actually a video that shows all of the different stages of the life cycle of a frog, which is really cool. And then we also have a few worksheets and coloring sheets on the life cycle of a frog, so you can go ahead and fill those out by printing them off or by completing them on a smartphone or on an iPad. If you're able to fill them out, please just text me the final picture so I can save it in terms of completed work. Everybody have a great weekend. Bye.